Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Collision Vision's MSO Chronicles series, where we speak with leaders of some of the biggest and best organizations in the collision repair industry. As always, I'm your host, Cole Strandberg. Today's guest is a different type of collision repair leader. We've had a few franchisees here on the Collision Vision, but we've yet to have a franchisor until today. Domenic Ieraci is the president of Simplicity Car Care, a Canadian franchisor of collision repair centers with over 100 locations at the time of this recording. We're going to talk about franchising and why it might be a great fit for the right operator, as well as many of our normal topics like growth, scalability, and culture. There's also a touch of conversation about family business in here, which, as you know, I love. I hope you enjoy the show. This episode is sponsored by Hunter Engineering. At Hunter Engineering, the theme behind all their products is do it right, do it once. So when you're doing alignments, the time to find hidden damage is before you start, not after. The workflow for Hunter's collision alignment system surfaces the trouble right up front by providing 5 additional collision-specific measurements, like toe out on turn, maximum steer, and ride height, to find the problems right away. It's all about efficiency, so find the damage before it finds you. To learn more about Hunter's collision alignment system, visit hunter.com. Enjoy the show. Domenic, thank you for joining us today on the Collision Vision.
Cole, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Looking forward to a fun conversation. Let's dive right in. I love your story. I've told a little bit about your story at the top of the show, but would love to hear it in your own words. Walk us through your background.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, we started in the industry many years ago. Our family immigrated from Italy and was in the collision business. I had no interest. I had no desire to be in the industry, and somehow we got sucked right into it. And it was funny because we saw my dad and my uncle. They had 2 body shops. The industry was changing, and there was a lot of consolidation that was taking place. And we found that there was really a couple options that we had to really remain relevant, which was they either had to grow and acquire stores, they had to join a bigger banner, or sell the business. So my 2 cousins, their dad owned the shop, and we sort of came together, and through the years kind of working in the shop, we actually came up with a system. And the system allowed us to be able to fix vehicles 35% faster than the average collision center in North America. And so we were kind of getting a little bit of traction with the system. And then, sort of with the desire to grow and the willingness to really help expand our parents' business at the time, we in 2017 created a system, and we branded it as Simplicity Car Care. And then from there, we ended up expanding the franchise throughout Canada. We have 102 locations coast to coast. We have about 5% of the Canadian market share. We're the 6th largest today collision network in the country. And one thing I'll say for sure is that there was an early mentor of mine, and I actually never met this person, but through videos and audiobooks and seminars, a man by the name of Jim Rohn, very, very famous sort of personal development guru, said, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you'll eventually get what you want in life. So it's kind of interesting and amazing how we had to help other people get what they want first in order for us to be able to do what we wanted, which is to be able to grow our own collision centers. And then this whole thing sort of expanded and grew way bigger than what we actually thought. Yeah, that's a bit of our story from how we started.
Love that, man. And love that quote too. And I'm such a believer in you put good things out, good things typically happen, good things come back. Now, I'm not sure exactly where this episode's gonna be slotted, but I think we're gonna end up having 3 second-generation collision repair entrepreneurs in a row, and I am one of those as well. I include myself in that, so 4 people speaking, and one of the common themes is, and I've said it on the previous episodes too, that it's wild how many people don't anticipate or don't intend to enter the industry, and that magnetic pull is just so strong, and once you're in there, you love it and you stay there. I know for me, I'll never go anywhere. I would imagine you're in the same boat. Talk to me about where Simplicity Car Care is today. Like, describe the organization as it exists.
Yeah, so like I said, we have 102 locations. Um, 99 of those are franchised. Three of them are corporately owned. And we're really a franchise business at the core of it. And so our focus is to help independent collision centers grow their business, give them the support they need to be able to work on the business, not in the business. And ultimately, we're a vehicle to help people fulfill their personal and professional goals. And if you take a look at a lot of the independents, some of the most passionate people in the world work super hard, but don't really find the way to get out of the day-to-day grind. It's so common to see an operator that's the first in, last out, and they do that for 10, 20, 30 years, but they don't really have that sort of moment where they're able to sort of step back and say, now I can let the business run on its own, enjoy the fruits of the labor. And so what we were really passionate about early on is helping independents be able to do that. And because our fathers, my business partners and I, were the first people that we were able to do that for, give them an opportunity to be able to step back from the business, take vacation, do what they love. Because look, you can do any business in the world. You can manufacture cars, you can manufacture furniture, you could be in any business. But what is it that you want out of the business to give you? And there's more than making money that people are after. And I think what's made us so unique and so different is that we're giving people the opportunity to do more than just run their business. We're giving them an opportunity to be able to live a life that they only dreamed of, by allowing that business to give them their time back. I think that's something that's very, very, very important.
I talk to folks about that exact thing all the time, to make yourself get out of that day-to-day role. To make a real business and not a job, you have to make yourself less important in the day-to-day than you probably are. So I think that's very cool. And I want to dive a little bit more into the system of Simplicity in a little bit. But right now, 0 to 100 plus stores in the network since only 2017. Looking back on that growth, it must feel pretty surreal. How does the organization look today relative to, that 2017 vision?
Man, it's completely different. When we first started, it was just myself and my two business partners out on the road selling franchises. Really boots to the ground, bootstrapping it up, whatever you want to term you want to use. But it was sort of really building it grassroots. And in order for us to be able to have scale to where we are today, it took a lot of investing in, firstly, finding the right leaders that we can bring within the company. People are extremely important, and finding that first, sort of 15 hires were so critical. And then from there, really investing in governance and technology, improving the system, improving the value proposition to the marketplace. So really, it's been a constant evolution every single day, willingness to just change and really invest back into ourselves, back into our franchisees, back into the business, and ensuring that we're always thinking with a very long-term view. It's been sort of our philosophy from the beginning.
Man, I want to dive a little bit into the franchisor model. We've had franchisees on the show. I don't think we've ever had a franchisor, and certainly growing that route is unique. There's only a handful of these systems within North America. What motivated you guys to choose this model for this business?
Yeah, so we thought we were going to grow through acquisition. back in 2014, 2015. And really what we realized, Cole, is that it's a great way to expand, except it would have taken us a very, very, very long time to get to the scale that we wanted to be at in the period of time that we wanted it to happen. So we felt that, franchising really is just an amazing business model. It allows you to scale very quickly, and it allows you to create a lot of impact in a very short period of time. Um, but with that being said, you have to have very strong fundamentals, and you have to have a very strong, compelling reason for people to want to join your system. And I think, one of the main reasons why people join is because we understood from the beginning the pains and the struggles that an independent collision center has day to day. We've sort of been in their shoes, and we understand it. And our franchise business has been created around really creating a solution to help those independents accelerate, thrive in a new environment. And so that franchise model was really, for us, the best sort of, no pun intended, vehicle to help us achieve our goals, and help build scale within the marketplace.
So I want to tee it up here because, a big part of the franchise system concept is that you have some sort of secret sauce, unique advantage. How do you describe your value add for your franchisees? And put differently, what would you consider your differentiator or differentiators?
Yeah, great question. I mean, firstly, when you take a look at what we do as a system that adds value to the general marketplace, it's repairing vehicles faster. So on average, we've been able to fix vehicles about 35% faster than the average collision center within North America. And then you take a look at the unit economics and sort of profitability, um, support that we're able to give the franchisee. We've been able to strip a lot of costs out of the collision center by leveraging our back office, by centralizing a lot of the different services. So if you're an independent, it's very difficult to, gain leverage as one store. But with 100, plus, um, together, unified in a back office, we can really leverage that scale, that efficiency, to start to really pull out costs and, um, create greater efficiency at the collision center level. So unit economics, profitability starts to go up when you do that. And then really it's all about driving results for that individual. Every individual is different. Everybody has their own goals and ideas of what they want in their business. But what is true across franchisees is that they want to be profitable. They want to be able to create wealth for their family, and they want to be able to have something that they can sell that's worth something, so that they have, an ability to create a really amazing retirement for themselves. So it's a short term and long term view, and really it's how do we sort of help people achieve those different milestones.
So growth via this model, of course, is very different than growth the way a lot of our guests and a lot of our listeners have grown. So not apples to apples, but give me a sense of, like, where is your focus as a leader? What are your strengths? And talk to me too about your whole corporate and executive team. I know there's a real family tie-in across the board.
Yeah, so we have a pretty dynamic team. So our CEO is my business partner, Paul Perkilo. Our COO is our other, second business partner, Dominic Perkilo, who's actually Paul's twin brother, by the way. So Paul and Dominic are twins, and then the third partner, myself, is Dominic as well, who I'm their cousin. Very confusing, but Italians have a way to just sort of stick to a couple names, Dominic and Paul. So if you come to our house on a family event, you can't go wrong with either just Dominic or Paul. Pretty much half of the party will look at you. But yeah, really, it's finding the strengths that you need as an organization to be able to grow, and then bringing in the best talent available in the marketplace. We recently just brought on a CFO, Sean Wilson, unbelievable individual, from actually the energy sector. So completely out of automotive, Actually, our VP of operations was completely out of automotive as well. He was in pharmaceutical and logistics. And so we think that if you're going to do things differently and if you're going to really innovate, you have to think outside of the industry. And so we actually, at a C level and sort of VP level, frequently look outside of the business and outside of the industry.
Very interesting. Very cool. From a introspective perspective, you as a leader, to get this type of growth, you guys are doing something right. Where do you think your strengths are personally?
I mean, look, I think that at the end of the day, it's about what is your what is your strength that you can offer to your business that is going to create an impact. Everybody has their own strengths. I have my weaknesses just like everybody else does. So I focus on what I do best. And I think where I add value to the companies is to be able to help sort of share the vision for how we can be able to expand and how we can be able to leverage technologies to support our franchisees, to support our customers. So that's one of the areas that I actually really enjoy spending time in. And that's one of the things too, Cole. If you don't enjoy doing something, you're not going to be very successful at it because you're going to be miserable, you're going to be unmotivated, and you're not going to really excel at it. So I think for me, it's always been focusing on what can I do to create the most amount of impact and what am I most passionate about within the business. And I try to stick within that realm so that I can really leverage my own assets to support the business as best as possible.
So today's picture, 100 plus locations. What strategies for growth would you attribute to that? How have you grown your network? How have you increased your brand awareness and really relayed your value proposition to franchisees?
Honestly, Cole, it's super simple. It's extremely simple. I think it starts with really understanding what the need of the marketplace is, knowing what your customer actually is facing in terms of challenges and struggles every single day, and just really delivering a solution that's unmatched or unseen in the industry. And I think doing it differently. So taking unconventional routes um, to problems that have been around for a very long time. Like I shared earlier with the independents having sort of the day-to-day grind and the 20, 30 years in the business. That's been going on for a long time, and it's about really showing people a path to a better future. And it's not about features and benefits. It's not about this widget, that widget. It's really about what are you doing to help make someone's life easier, make someone's life better, whether it be the franchisee, whether it be the consumer, whether it be the insurer. We're in the business of really solving problems, and that's kind of what it is. Um, yeah.
Makes total sense. I love it. Going back to the typical value proposition for a franchisor to a prospective franchisee, walk me through kind of your development. Are these typically greenfield, brownfields? Are they transitioning from independent collision repair centers? And then B, how do you help them grow from a DRP relationship perspective, OE certification perspective? So in addition to the system, how do you help grow?
Yep. No, awesome. So firstly, we're in the conversion franchising space where we take existing independents and we'll convert them to our brand, to our systems, to essentially the whole Simplicity Car Care model. And then so actually, let me just take it a quick step back. Before we bring anybody on, we go through a very rigorous sort of selection process. And the two key fundamentals that we look for, Cole, is what's that individual's willingness to learn and what is their willingness to accept change. We call that the teachability index. We have a sort of a scoring system through a series of questions that we ask. And then by the end of that series of questions, we'll have a score. And that will tell us how basically willing is this person to follow our system, and how willing are they to actually go through the changes that are necessary for them to be successful. Because if someone's not willing to change, we can't help them. And so it's, at that point, we'll just say, hey, listen, maybe this is not for you. But for the individuals that are saying, look, you know what, I've tried it this way for so long, I've got this far, I'm willing to do something different. I'm willing to, change the way I do things so that I can be able to have more. Those are the people that we want to work with. So that's kind of like the baseline. Once they join and they go through a 90-day to 120-day onboarding, really what we want to do is ensure that they've been able to learn the system, adapt the system. Are they following all the different KPI metrics that we have? Are they really doing what we need to do, which is run the system consistently? And then once they've achieved that, at that point is when they're ready to now be introduced to our insurance partners. So there's sort of like a stepstone process, if you will, that gets them from pre-sign up to really getting on with the DRPs and then really growing the business. And then after that, now it's a matter of, how big do you want to grow? How fast do you want to grow? We have a guy, he was actually not even in the industry. He was in the oil sands in Calgary. He was an engineer, and moved to Windsor, Ontario from Calgary. He somehow we sort of got connected. He said, listen, Dom, I really want to be in this industry. I really love this industry. I said, and his name is Sia. I said, Sia, you know nothing about this industry. Like, what makes you want to? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Right? Like, what makes you want to be in this business? So, anyways, we had a long conversation, and ultimately we said, okay, we're going to do it. And he started with one location in Windsor, Ontario. Small location, was about 5,000-6,000 square feet at the time. And now he's grown to 3 locations within 5 years. He's one of the top performers in the country, in the system. And so it's pretty cool to see, some of the success stories and some of the evolution of people that really want it. And that's where it gets fun, is when people really want it badly and they just want to be successful and they just want to grow. And then we're able to sort of help them by saying, look, here are the tools, here's how you do it, and then we're going to be behind you the whole way. And seeing them really take it and take off, like, that's very, very rewarding for sure.
Man, fantastic and well put. Talk to me too. You mentioned systems. Talk to me about your systems that are in place. Speaking with private equity folks, potential
Mhm.
entrepreneurs about the concept of franchising. That's another key cog in that machine. Is those systems are built out for you. Walk me through that.
Yeah, systems are everything, right? I mean, you join a franchise because of the system and because of the brand. Those are the 2 reasons why you join a franchise. And really, it's about having a consistent way to do things from A all the way to Z. So we've really documented and standardized how the franchisee needs to be able to manage certain departments and certain functions of the business. Um, at the same time, Cole, we want to be able to give the franchisee the flexibility to use their own personality and their own flavor and their own style as well within the system. But the core of it really is about doing things a specific way so that we can have a specific expected outcome. Because without that, really, there's too much variability. We're going to have inconsistencies across the board. And I will say, to your earlier question, how were we able to grow so quickly? Is because of that consistency. And when we change and when we do something new in the marketplace, we're able to mobilize the entire network very quickly, and we're able to adapt to new processes or new things that we have that we're working with our insurance partners or other stakeholders, and allows us to be very agile.
Fantastic. I don't have the latest stats on our listener base, but I would imagine the bulk are from the US and might not be so familiar with the Canadian collision repair industry. So, with that in mind, are there some unique characteristics or trends that you're seeing in the Canadian collision repair market compared to the US ecosystem? Like, walk us through the differences there or anything that's happening there that might not be familiar to us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so firstly, I'll just say I think the U.S. and the Canadian market are very similar in a lot of ways. From a OEM certification perspective, you're seeing a lot of segmentation between collision centers, with some only repairing specific brands. You have a sort of a hub and spoke model as well, where you have heavy hit centers and then drivable centers. So you see a lot of sort of similarities there. I would say I think Canada is a lot more consolidated than the US is, personally. But one of the new sort of paradigm shifts that we're seeing in the country here in Canada is sustainability in terms of going to net zero. So our company about a year and a half ago started our net zero journey to be net zero by 2040. And we've made a significant investment in terms of infrastructure, dashboards, consultants, partnering with different companies to be able to understand, like, what does this all really mean, and what does this sort of journey look like as we go through something that we've never gone before. And that's ensuring that we're reducing the carbon output in our collision centers to ultimately reduce the emissions to get to net zero. And so last week, actually, we launched the first ever sustainability summit with insurance companies and different stakeholders in the industry. We've actually partnered with Solera on this for the summit, and sort of the outcome of the summit was creating a automotive sustainability council, which now will sort of have insurers and stakeholders come together, and actually people and experts outside of the industry who have done it significantly and successfully to get to net zero come and really help shape the future of how the auto claims economy can start to reduce the emissions, reduce the waste, because I mean everybody knows that there's obviously a massive concern with climate change, and whether you believe it or not, we have seen the data, and it's very alarming. So we're just doing our small part to really help contribute to that. We're not going to change the world overnight. It's baby steps, but really it's taking that first step to get there. So that's kind of one of the big shifts that are happening within the Canadian marketplace.
Very cool, and that's probably a fair bit of European influence as well. You hear about that a lot in the European collision repair marketplace. It's getting there here to the US, but I think you're a fair bit ahead of us as an industry. Very cool, man. I want to go back to kind of some culture and leadership topics before we get to some forward-looking kind of speculative questions for you. But talk to me about how you view culture, both at the franchisor level and for your team, as well as down at the franchisee level and for their team. What do you do to assist that, or where do you guide your franchisees?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think culture is all about leveraging and really doubling down on your core values. So we have 5 core values that we live by, and we don't just put them on a wall and say, "Hey, great, we have these core values on the wall." We do our best to really try to bring those to life as much as possible by really communicating them early and often with our franchisees, with our staff. And actually, one of the things, Cole, that we did and we're doing is within each of our monthly team meetings, we have every department actually share what they did that exemplifies one or more of our core values. So one of our core values is we wow our customer. Another one is we innovate to create solutions. So we asked, okay, great, we have these core values. What are we doing as a company to live by these values? And so we feel that keeping that at the forefront allows us to really consistently embrace those values and live by those values. And that's helped really shape the culture of the company. and I think in a very big way, because it's no longer just corporate speak. It's really real and authentic, and we're trying to basically bring those to life any way we can.
Very cool. Yeah. Hey, gotta walk the walk if you're gonna talk the talk. So those real life examples I think are really helpful in not only holding each other accountable, but really showing what it is that we're looking for here. Here's how we're knocking it out of the park. So we've talked about the story of simplicity. We've talked about where it is today. What in your mind does the future look like for the organization? Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, great question. So I mean, I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to be extremely exciting. It's going to be, um, we're going to have to really look at what are the changes that are coming down the pipeline, not only in automotive, but in consumer trends, consumer behaviors, because the consumer ultimately drives the decision as to where their vehicle gets repaired. They have the final call. And so, how are we adapting to the changes that are happening? And how are we investing in our infrastructure to ensure that we are future ready to be able to deliver on the customer expectation from a seamless, frictionless claims experience? How are we leveraging technology so that we're not being left behind in terms of what we call liquid expectations? And liquid expectations are the expectations that people have in general in their daily life by their association with brands that they frequently interact with. I mentioned Apple, I mentioned Uber, I mentioned Netflix. These brands take up so much real estate in many people's minds that they expect the outer world to sort of operate in the same level. And so to compete at the highest levels, we're gonna have to emulate and be able to be at the level of the other brands. Not because they're in collision, but because that's what people expect. And so we we're heavily focused on that. We're heavily focused on developing the leaders within the company because you can only grow as well and as great as your people are. So really, just doubling down on the investment of our people, and then just focus on continued growth, continued scale.
Fantastic and well put. Kind of zooming out and away from simplicity specifically, but for our listeners out there who might be considering going the franchise conversion route, or for a private equity group looking at a roll up and considering going the franchise model, what advice would you give to people when kind of debating that decision?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to call the individual asking themselves, what do they truly want for themselves, right? To make the best decision, you got to ask yourself, what is it that I want as an individual? And, is it, do you want to grow? Do you want to stay the same? Do you want to sell your business? Like, there's many options. And I think when you decide and understand for yourself what it is that you want, I think it'll be a lot easier to start to now decide what direction to take. I think the franchising route gives people a lot of options, gives them the option to be able to grow. As I said earlier, there's that ability to become an MSO within a franchise system. You can sort of maintain your independent one center and grow that one center, and you can do that very successfully by having sort of the backup and the support of a franchise. And then if you want to sell, I think a franchise also gives you the ability to be able to have a succession plan by, because I can tell you with us, we've helped many franchisees be able to not only grow but sell their business, where another person in the system wants to become an MSO, so they'll buy that franchise location. So what you're really doing is you're creating the best insurance policy for your business and for your wealth creation by joining a franchise. Being an independent is extremely tough in 2024. It's extremely tough. And I think it's just you're buying an insurance policy to have options, really is what it
Yep.
is.
Well said. Here's something that we did not talk about in our pre-show call. So I hope you don't view this as any sort of gotcha question, but I would be remiss not to ask about some of your charitable ventures as well. Can you tell me about the Children on the Rise organization that you're involved with.
Sure. So, I've been very blessed and very lucky to, grow up in a really great family and have a really great upbringing. And, my wife and I both felt that we had sort of this obligation to give back because of the life that we have. And so it was actually, I believe, in 2017 as well. We started the Children on the Rise Charity Foundation in support of the Sick Kids Hospital, and our goal was to raise $1 million. And so what we did is basically created a committee, with people that wanted to really sort of give back to the community, and we would host sort of fundraisers, we would host charity galas, and raise money, and all the money went towards the new development of the new Sick Kids Hospital, which was a $1 billion plus capital spend, sort of to get it off the ground. It's built now. It's beautiful. It's state of the art facility. And actually, my son is or was a patient of Sick Kids Hospital. And it's funny. I'll share a little quick story. This is like one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me, honestly. So we had started the foundation in 2017. My son was born in July of 2019, and it was in November of 2019 that we had our gala. And basically, when my son was born, he had enlarged ventricles, which was because he had the cord wrapped around his neck when he came out. There was sort of a blockage, and sort of had almost like a minor stroke, if you will, at birth.
Mm.
And so through a series of tests and doctor's appointments, we found that he had these enlarged ventricles in his head. And so we were at some other local hospital, not Sick Kids, the day that we were going to have the gala to raise money for Sick Kids Hospital. We're at the hospital. Doctor comes in and says, shows us the X-ray and says, "Hey, your son has enlarged ventricles. You need to go to Sick Kids Hospital right away." And we literally packed our bags, left, rushed over to Sick Kids, and that first day, that first night that we were there, it was the night of our gala. So here we are in Sick Kids Hospital as patients while our gala is taking place at the exact same time.
Wow.
And it was like, and I'll never forget, I was walking through the halls and I was just thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. How could this happen? Like, where you have, it was just such an unbelievable experience. My son's doing a lot better today. His name is Leo, by the way. He's going to be 5, actually in a couple weeks. And you know what an amazing life moment. What an amazing sort of humbling experience to just really reflect and understand, like, what's really important in life, right? And and when I say to you and I say to others about that we're a vehicle to help people do what they want in life, like, that's what it's really about, man. It's really about your family. It's really about enjoying your life. And when you have these experiences and when you have these moments that take you out of the day to day, and it's a real situation, it really puts life into perspective. And yeah, so
That's the word,
that's
man. Perspective. That is an unbelievable story. So glad to hear he's doing well. But
yeah,
that perspective, it makes us tough to go back and think about business when that's the really important stuff. So kudos to you for the charitable work. I do want to put a link to that organization in the show notes, along with some of the other links we'll talk about here as we
appreciate it.
begin to wrap up. But awesome story. And again, super tough to pivot back to business, but we're gonna trudge on. As you know, we like to end each episode of the Collision Vision with 3 key takeaways from your perspective. What are the takeaways from our conversation today?
Love it. Yeah, no, this has been amazing, and Cole, appreciate the opportunity to be here. This has been a lot of fun for me. I think if you're an independent collision center owner today, I think what you want to 3 things that you want to certainly be able to do for yourself is, number one, know your numbers. Understand your numbers, understand what are the key metrics that are important to your business. I think you want to be able to certainly plan ahead. So plan for your future, plan for the next 1, 3, 5, 10 years down the line. Know what you want from your business. And if you know what you want from your business, there's a higher probability that you're going to be able to get that in what you're looking for. And then number 3, which I think is probably most important, is be willing to change. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because when you get out of your comfort zone, that's when the magic happens. If you stay in the comfort zone, you cannot possibly change. And if you're not changing, it's very difficult to evolve and to experience more of what you want, because you're going to get more of the same. So really change, be willing to adapt, to be able to be the architect for your future.
Great takeaways right there, man. That's awesome. Where can people connect with you and follow along with Simplicity Car Care?
Yeah, so if you want to check us out at simplicitycc.com, that's our website, and anybody can find me on LinkedIn. Just type my name, and happy to connect with you.
Awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and include those links in the show notes in addition to the Children on the Rise organization. But Dominic, man, thank you so much for joining us here. Had a blast with you. Always appreciate having you on the Collision Vision.
Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it.
Thank you again to Domenic Ieraci of Simplicity Car Care for joining us on today's show. The role of franchises within collision repair fascinates me, and I thought Dominic did a great job of walking us through that together. He also ended with some great key takeaways, and those were: number 1, know your numbers. What are the key metrics that are important to your business? As I've said many times here on this show, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Number 2, plan ahead, specifically in 1, 3, 5, and 10-year increments. Know what you want and go get it. You have to know what you want in order to get where you want to be. Lastly, be willing to change. The industry is changing rapidly, so you need to be agile and be ready to make moves. That's all for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the other MSO Chronicles episodes here on the Collision Vision, be sure to hit that follow button wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube, where the Collision Vision lives in video form. I'd also ask that, assuming you're finding value here, you share the Collision Vision with your network. Stay tuned for another great episode in our MSO Chronicles series, and on behalf of the Autobody News team and myself, thank you for coming along for the ride.